A trio of head coaches have made moves in different ways. You've got Eric Morris reportedly going to be the next head coach at Oklahoma State. You have got Jim Mora Jr. migrating back towards the West and maybe trending in a few years towards a Power 4 job if he succeeds at Colorado State. He was at UConn where he did very well at a non-traditional football school. And then you've got Florida State retaining Mike Norvell. So I've said all I wanted to say about Jim Mora. It's just an interesting name. It's something to throw out there. He was a UCLA head coach for a while, and then they moved on from him, and it hasn't gone incredible since he left. Chip Kelly had a brief run of success, but it didn't maximize its full potential there. Just keep an eye on that one. But Eric Morris going to Oklahoma State is what the report is. I don't think it's been officially announced or confirmed as I'm recording this show, but that's the indication. This feels like a really good fit. Eric Morris's offenses, and we'll see what happens with his quarterback, Drew Mestamaker, because, man, they got a tailback there at North Texas who's really good. If those guys wind up hitting the portal, then guess what? That could be a good foundational starting point for Oklahoma State in 2026. Eric Morris has been an offensive coordinator that has coached the likes of Patrick Mahomes, John Mateer, Cam Ward, amongst others. He has been a head coach at Incarnate Word. That's an FCS school in the Southland Conference. A head coach at North Texas. After he was the OC at Washington State, he became the head coach at North Texas. He has turned them around. He has them legitimately within striking distance of the college football playoff. Going to be the head coach at Oklahoma State? I'm not aware, as I record this show, whether he plans to stay with the team through the entire run. But this is a great time to bring up, again, as I talked about with Lane Kiffin earlier this week on this very show. The college football calendar is so ridiculously dumb. It was constructed by people operating within a framework that takes far too heavily into account the academic calendar. I'm sorry if admins or professors anywhere don't like that athletes would get special treatment for their classes, but this is the way that the world needs to work. College football is too big, too powerful, and too important to say we're going to structure our sport around the academic calendar. I'm sorry. Even though I'm someone that continuously, when there's been a push, anytime it's popped up to say, well, they should just become employees full time and we should just forget the degree. Nope. No. Bad idea. Very bad idea. I am against that wholeheartedly. You open a big can of worms and it's not a good one, as if there's any can of worms that's good that's not gummy worms. So I'm not advocating for that particular solution. I am pointing out that relative to the number of schools we're talking about and how many kids enter a school, administratively, it just shouldn't be that hard. It's the old Moneyball line. It's not that hard, Scott. Tell them, Wash. It's incredibly hard. Hey, anything worth doing is. We're going to teach you. This is worth doing to fix the calendar so that this decision, this discussion, this timeline doesn't have to happen. Lane Kiffin could be announced within the next week as LSU's next head coach, as he's in the midst of Ole Miss having probably the best season in the history of the program. North Texas making the college football playoff is a landmark moment for that university. That opportunity is within their own grasp. They just have to win this week, get to the American Championship game, and then beat, in all likelihood, Tulane. If they do that, they're probably in. And instead, what do the fans have to think about? Oh, this isn't going to last, and he could leave before that happened, and you could just throw away the season. If your anger is being directed at coaches, it is fair and right for fans to be upset when a coach leaves them. I feel like it's different when you go from group of 5 to the power 4 because the difference in money is just so severe. And so I wonder if that makes it sting a little bit less. for Group of Five fans? Let me know in the comments. I'm not saying it feels great. I'm just saying it's different when, Lincoln Riley leaves Oklahoma for USC. That can't land the same with a fan base as going from North Texas to Oklahoma State to try to win a Big 12 championship. So for North Texas to be having this year and their head coach being worthy of that sort of opportunity, accepting it, and then having to make this decision and have it disrupt everything, you can be upset with the coach for leaving. You cannot be upset at the timing of all this. Why couldn't he wait till the end of the year? Because the buffoons who have constructed the college football calendar have taken signing day, which used to be in February, where it belongs, and they put it at the end of December while the season is still going on. It makes no sense. And then we had this early portal window in December, which was completely illogical, and at least someone had the wherewithal to go, well, let's get rid of that. Oh, okay, good. So you're going to put it after the season? No, I'm going to keep it while the postseason is still alive, but I'm going to wait for bowl season to end. That way kids are transferring at the start of the semester. Oh my goodness, who cares? Who cares? I cannot believe that is a reason that gets cited for making decisions about a multi-billion-dollar sports industry. It's unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable. And you know why it's so ridiculous and why you shouldn't be as mad at Lane Kiffin or Eric Morris as you probably are if you've got that sentiment? When a coach leaves, as Chip Kelly did once upon a time from UCLA in February, after the portal, after signing day, he left super late to go be the OC at Ohio State. He could be a college OC again very soon. It didn't work out well with the Raiders. Those kids had 30 days to go in the transfer portal. Oh, what do you know? If you have the will and wherewithal, you can just pass go, collect $200, and then make it work with the calendar. Holy smokes, I'm shocked. If it's difficult for schools administratively, here's an idea. Throw a little money at it and put some more admins on the matter. There is no good reason. I'm sure someone has a reason. It's just not a good reason why the calendar is set up like this. Completely and utterly busted. I did want to close with Mike Norvell. So he's under a lot of fire because he doesn't recruit at the high school level the way he should. They were the worst Power 4 team in the country last year, and they're playing this week for the right to go to a bowl game. And after the Alabama win, expectations got inflated. I did not jump on that bandwagon. I said, well, from a ranking standpoint, they got to be up there because they just beat Alabama by 14 points. But I don't know. I feel like that team is not. I was right. I was very right on that. Sometimes I'm wrong. And I come on and tell you I'm very wrong. On that one, I was right. Everybody else jumped the gun on Florida State. I said, can I see a little bit more? We saw a little bit more. It got ugly real fast. So Norvell being retained, I don't think is being received incredibly well because last year was so bad and this year the second half has been really terrible. But can we look at this through one of the most important ways to evaluate a coach? Are you going forward or are you going backwards? So last year they went backwards in the biggest way imaginable, from 13-0 to 2-10. That is one of the sharpest declines in college football history. They are statistically the worst preseason top 10 AP poll team of all time. They're fighting to make a bowl game this year. If you see that as a restart point, because it was too expensive to fire him, and probably still is too expensive to fire him, how is going from 2 wins to 5 or maybe 6 not an improvement? What if Florida State wins that and wins a bowl game and goes 7-6? Isn't that the sort of progress you're looking for? Yeah, it was a historically bad year. But don't tell me Mike Norvell can't coach at all. He won the ACC 2 years ago. And yeah, it's going to take some work to get back to that level as a program. But it's not like it's Dabo Swinney living off a couple of national championships from before COVID. This is a guy that very recently has shown he can acquire talent in the portal. And sometimes he relies on it too heavily. Those discussions are all fair to have. But I was surprised at the reaction to all of this because it was mostly, why are they bringing him? Oh my gosh, you got to get rid of him. I'm going, wait a minute. So he had the worst moment of his coaching career, the 2024 season. It happened. What has he done? They're better. He reloaded with his staff. And no, they're not where they would like to be one day. Did you think they were going from 2-10 to 9-3? That was never reasonable. The Alabama win was maybe the worst thing that happened to Mike Norvell and the FSU Seminoles as they have undergone this rebuild because it set expectations out of whack. Kind of like Lincoln Riley's 2022 season at USC. Caleb Williams was so great, they overperformed. And then the expectation was set right there when in reality, they needed to do a lot of program building, which they finally are. Well, Florida State needs to do some program building. Now, I will continue to talk about, once the offseason rolls around, how their offseason plan goes and how their high school recruiting efforts pick up or don't pick up. But Florida State's a better team this year than they were last year. Isn't that what you were looking for? I found that to be strange. That's where I end today's show. Appreciate everyone listening. I'll see you next time. And until then, hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day.